guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today we're going to be making a wedding card and we are using Perfect Day, the stamp stencils and dies. We are also using the holiday bells and the spring metal 3D embossing folder. So it might seem a little strange that right out the gate we're going to the die cutting, but it's because with this particular stamp set, because there's no connector piece, it's easier to die cut it first and then line up your stamp to make sure the stencils are going to line up. Plus, I got to die cut these lovely layer bells, so I just figured I would go ahead and knock that out because I was going to have to color them as well. You do want to keep the negative piece for this so that you have something to fit it into to make sure it's perfectly in place. So I already have a sticky mat in my MISTI. I'm going to put my outline down first, and then I'm going to fit in my die cut. From there, I'll be able to line up my stamp to make sure it's stamping exactly where it needs to be. And I think I ended up stamping it twice. Yeah, I did. I ended up stamping it twice. So I had this idea forever ago. I had this idea back when I originally, like when I made my first card ever, don't mind my hair, when I made my first card ever with the holiday bells, I'm like, these would be really cute as wedding bells, and it would be another way to get more bang for your buck, which I'm all about, always. And so I had pulled out the stuff to make it, and then I just never got around to making it. So I figured, I mean, now's as good a time as any. I do know that we've kind of missed the peak of wedding season, but I got married September 5th, so maybe not entirely. I don't know. Did you get married in what season did you get married in? Both times. Both times that I got married, I've been married 2 times. I got married like at the end of August the first time, beginning of September the second time. Now, the second time, if you're new to my channel and you are unaware of this, I was actually supposed to be married in June, but because we were in the middle of a pandemic, we had to move our date. So originally it was supposed to be 6/6 of 20, and then we had to move it because everything was still shut down. And so we looked at the dates that were available. One of them was in the middle of July, just hot. But it was also my brother-in-law's birthday. It was July 11th. And then one of the other ones that was available was September 5th, which is sometimes Labor Day. Just depends. And so we decided we were going to go with September 5th, even though at the time we both worked in public service and had to work holidays. But anyway, so here I am using, you totally don't have to do this. You can, or you don't have to. I like to do the ink blending if I can, because then it cuts down on the amount of coloring I have to do with my markers, which I love, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's nice to just have like a base layer. So I picked a couple of colors, and this is where cards like this are super fun because there's florals in it, the bells in it. Like, you can pick custom colors to match your recipient's wedding colors. So typically you would be able to see those usually on the like invitation, or if you are particularly close to whoever is getting married, like, you know, if it's a sibling or a close niece, nephew, whatever, you may already know the wedding colors, or you could just ask, and then that way they have a card that is customized to their wedding colors, which I think is really very sweet and thoughtful. So I did mask off those smaller flowers just so I could have an accent color of blue. Nobody's surprised there. And then I made my flowers pink, like my larger flowers pink, and then I used brush sage, which is a more muted blue green for the leaves. But I think that the colors, you know, I think the combination of it is really super pretty. What were your wedding colors? I was actually thinking my parents' wedding anniversary was just 2 days ago. And so I was like, oh, maybe I should make them like an anniversary card, which would also be super cute. But then I was like, but I mean, I could, but then I didn't get them a gift or anything. Like we have, well, when I was younger, I used to get them gifts all the time for their anniversary. But now they don't even buy each other anything because they've been married for so long. And so like big anniversaries, we do gifts. But yeah, so I thought about that. But theirs was rainbow themed because that was a thing back then. You know, they got married in the 70s, and I guess that was super trendy. So all of the groomsmen wore wore baby blue tuxes, and then their bridesmaids were, each one was a different color of the rainbow, and then the guys, I think their bow ties and their cummerbunds maybe matched their partner, is how they did it, I think. So they had like a whole rainbow themed wedding, which I think is fantastic. Nobody will be surprised that for both of my weddings, one of my colors was blue. The first time around, I did like a baby blue, a sky blue kind of color, and yellow. And then the second time around, I did a navy blue and a coral. And I have to say, quite honestly, the navy blue and the coral was my favorite. I don't know. There's something about it, a good navy blue, which I'm sure you're not surprised to see me coloring these flowers navy blue. I just love it. It's just such a beautiful color. Doesn't hurt that I have blue eyes, so, you know, I wear a lot of blue. Speaking of wearing blue, we just did our family photos, I think I had told you guys about. And so we asked Mom, you know, because you're trying to coordinate your family and your whole family. And so she said blue was what she was going with. So everybody wore a various shade of blue, which worked out really nicely for me. Because then, you know, I had a lot of options. Not just options that I had to go like purchase, but options that I already owned. But yeah, so that was fun. Weddings are I think it's always interesting to see what kind of wedding people have, like what their style is. I don't know, I was never like super glitzy glamorous, though I think that is beautiful. Mine was always more like simple, pretty colors. Like mine and like when Eric and I got married, it was more like on the rustic side. Like we did mason jars and like the wood slices, things like that. But my flowers weren't rustic. I don't really like rustic flowers. Like I didn't do like a wildflower bouquet. I did calla lilies, of course, because they're one of my favorites. And then I did like coral colored roses and some it wasn't hydrangeas, it was delphinias. They're like a bluish flower. Yeah, they were beautiful. They were super good. And then the girl who did my flowers actually ended up, like, we were one of her last weddings. She retired. She got out of the game, but yeah, so that's that. Back to the card. So here, I know it looks like I'm adding a super lot of shading. I am, but I am not completely covering up the stenciling. However, there is not a lot of coloring going on here, so you certainly could skip the stenciling part if that's not for you, or you know, maybe you don't have the colors that you want. If you don't have the colors that you want, just like we do with markers, and like you see it on my channel all the time, where I will, what I call color glazing, to get custom colors. Like if you don't have a ton of markers, it's totally okay. You don't need them all. Even I don't have them all. And this is my full-time job. You can always layer your inks as well. It doesn't work as well with like distress oxides because of that pigment property. They're designed to kind of lay on top of each other, and they are more opaque because of the pigment. But with distress inks, because they are transparent, you really can layer the colors and change the tone of them. So if your recipient has like very specific colors that are maybe not as common, you can kind of mix and match your inks or your markers to get that custom color. I would always just recommend that you try it all out on a scrap piece of paper before you commit to coloring your die cuts, just so you don't waste a lot of time if you can't come up with the perfect color combination the first time around. So here with this bow, and I actually think when I did the holiday bells, I colored the things with the same pink combination, to be honest. I'm pretty sure that I did. I think I did gold bells instead of silver. I don't know why I attribute silver bells to weddings instead of like gold bells, but like gold bells to me are more holiday, even though there's a Christmas song called Silver Bells. I'm not sure why that is, but I opted to color the bells silver this time around, because I do attribute them more to weddings, but also because I've already done a video where I colored the bells gold. So I wanted to just show you a little something different. It was very challenging for me not to like put some sort of glossy accents on them or something like that to make them super shiny. I think that would be beautiful. But because I have all of these things kind of like layered up, I just didn't have the time to put the glossy accents on there and wait for it to dry because it's such a large area. And I'm very, very fortunate that my mom and then my sister have been helping me go through and get rid of like retired products because my boxes are stacking up again. And I have to clean out the retired product in order to make room for new products, but I don't have time to clean out the retired products. So my mom has been like, I'll come over and do it. And I feel bad because, you know, she worked her whole life to be retired and do whatever she wanted. And I guarantee you whatever she wanted was not cleaning out my craft room. But she was very insistent. And finally my husband was like, I really think you should take your mom up on it. Side note about the card. I showed you 3 colors of green. I actually only ended up using 2. The third color was not necessary for it to blend into the ink blending, and so I just left it off. I was really happy with the way that they blended with just the 2 colors, and then I did have to bring in a yellow just for the center of that one flower that you can actually see. I could have left it just regular ink blended and that probably would have been fine, but you know me and my depth and dimension, I can't leave anything alone. So I did color the little bottom branch the same way. The banner I chose to color with Copic markers, so that way I had good control over the shading, and I'm just coloring them with the same combination that I'm using for the bells. And you guys will see it later on, but I completely forgot to stamp the sentiment onto the banner until I was going to die cut it. And then I was like, wait a minute, there's just sentiment on here. Kelly, you should probably fix that. Speaking of weddings and anniversaries and all of that stuff, so our wedding anniversary is coming up, and we have talked about maybe trying to do something, you know, just us to celebrate, but we haven't booked anything yet, and we're like 2 weeks out. So I don't know what we're going to end up doing. And it's not, I mean, it's what is it, our three, which is leather and what was the other one? Crystal, I think, which is not super helpful for finding an anniversary gift, just FYI. Here, just to talk about the bells just very quickly. So I always, whenever I'm coloring the lovely layers with Copic markers, I always use the piece on top to discover where my shadow line should be. So that is why I just lay them on top. I trace it with the lightest color, and then that way I know where to add my shadows. So when I stack them up on top of each other, they make sense. And then for the rest of the bell, I just did a center highlight. So I'm adding shading from the left and the right. I did leave the like the rim of the top layer bell a little bit lighter so that it would look like it was kind of lifting up a little. So anyway, so yeah, we're trying to figure out what to do for our anniversary. If you have any suggestions, I am open. I'm open to that as well. We don't obviously want to, if we go somewhere, like we don't want to go very far just in case the kids, you know, something happens with the kids and we need to come back home. And that's just kind of the season of life we're in right now. because we do have younger babies. Here's where I forgot to stamp the the sentiment, and I had to go back and do it. So I just went with the congratulations, and then I'm gonna stamp and die cut to the happy couple, which will, like when it all comes together, it makes sense to the happy couple, congratulations. And then, you would put whatever you wanted in there. For the background, I am using this Spring Medley embossing folder. Mine is dirty because of a technique I did quite some time ago, but it's just stained. Like, it doesn't transfer, you can see. And then I also die cut out my little bottom branch as well as my banner. And then we are going to start building this bad boy. So you'll see here, and I said it in a recent video as well, I am using the My Sweet Petunia glue press. One of the things to note about this is it's made to use with tonic glue, but my preferred glue, if you watch my videos, is the Honeybee Be Creative glue. So they have empty bottles. I don't even want to say replacement bottles because you're not replacing anything. It's an empty bottle that you can purchase with the glue press and then fill up with your preferred glue. So that is what I chose to do. Not that I mean, I don't know anything about the tonic glue. I just know that I've tried a lot of glue over the years. I like the Honeybee one. I'm sticking with what I like. That's how I roll. For the most part. Now, there are other glues that I like that I will use if I'm doing a video, for their company or whatever. But I just feel like that's courteous. If it's good glue, then I wouldn't use something that wasn't good or something that I didn't like. So that's just addressing that, since you do see the glue gun, which I am enjoying quite a bit, the little glue press. But I plan on, I shouldn't say everybody, there's quite a people who put videos out about it, and I just didn't necessarily know that I needed to jump on that bandwagon to share my thoughts. If you see me using something in a video, I'm using it because I like it. Here, I got a little ahead of myself, and I put glue on the little... what are those? Like the little ribbons that hang down. But it wasn't time for that yet because I was just gluing it on top of its base. So I did, obviously, eventually when I go to add it to my card, that is the time to put glue on it. So I just wiped it off with my finger and moved on. For the background wreath, like the little oval, I am gonna, and I forgot about the little bell clangers. So thankfully, this one that I had already put together, there was just enough of a little gap that I could sneak in this little ball portion. And so I was able to just scoot that right in there. For the wreath, I did double stack them onto some white cardstock, so by the time they go on the card, they have 3 layers, and that's just going to give them some more dimension. Back to the bells, because I didn't say it, because I was talking about something else. What? We don't know. Well, you probably do, but I don't. I originally colored behind the little circle details pink, but I actually really didn't like the way that looked. So I chose to cut some out of white glitter paper, and then that is what I used to complete the decoration. So now we're to the building portion. I'm just going to add glue to this and just fill in my oval right on my embossed background. Because it has like that double, triple stack of cardstock, it does give it a more raised appearance, which I really like on a textured background. And then for the bells and the sentiments, I'm going to pop them up on foam tape. So I just played around with it quite a bit to figure out how they needed to line up together, so that everything was fitted nicely and I didn't have like foam tape on top of foam tape. So that's what you see me doing there. And then once I'm happy with how the foam tape is going to fit in, I'm going to go in with my tweezers so that I can hold them and get them fitted right where I want them. I super love the way that the silver bells came out. I think that they're really, really cute. But there is something, I don't know, I can't even believe I'm going to say this. I think maybe I should have picked a different color than blue to color in the banner. I wanted it to be my accent color. That's why I chose to color the flowers that, but I don't know if it works as well as I would have liked. Also, I chose to use the bow, but it does cover up some of the flowers. You could leave off the bow, and in that case, I would adhere the bells under the flowers so that they were like coming out from behind the wreath if you choose to leave the bow off. For the banner, there is a little bit of foam tape in the center just to make sure it doesn't sag, and then I put glue on either side to glue it to the wreath. For the actual sentiment, to the happy couple, it's all popped up on foam since it's going to be seated in the center underneath the bells. So I really did try to like cut out all of the putting on the foam and pulling off the little papers because I feel like it takes forever and I don't want to watch that, so I can't imagine that you do. So once those are on, the only other thing that I did just to add in just a little detail is I added some white accents to my ribbon, to my bells, and then for a little bit more color, I went in with, which one did I use? Is it Simply Spring? Yep, I had it. I used these little rhinestones because they had this really beautiful pink. They had a light pink and a dark pink. And so I used these just to add some bling and some color to the wreath. And then I used the light pink to just accent my sentiment. And then that's it. That's the whole card. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope this inspires you to kind of create maybe some custom colored wedding cards for your family and friends. I always appreciate your time, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.